Ronald Wanamaker, our next presenter, Windows into Preservation.
I'm going to be the first one to crash and burn because somebody needs to. Right? So I'm just going to run out of things to say. Okay, let's go. So Windows into Preservation. A friend of mine asked me to come up here and talk about something I'm passionate about, and preservation is one of those things. I don't know why, so I'm hoping at the end of this everybody can help me out and give me a good reason why we care about some of these things. And Windows into Preservation is one of those things where windows are the eyes of our building. There's all kinds of cliches about saving historic fabric, sustainability. The whole preservation movement is all about keeping things we already have and maintaining them. And windows and historic preservation are one of those gigantic, elephants in the room. It's the first thing people want to throw away, and it's for good reason. And it's one of those things that really keep a building's integrity or a historic structure's integrity. So a lot of times what I've ended up doing is I've somehow become that window guy, and we run around trying to tell people that if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it is broke, fix it and don't replace it. And we spend a lot of time trying to bring these parts back to the buildings in our shop in Burlington and all over the state, really. So preservation and sustainability is a big thing. Our buildings, of course, but our windows, the parts can be replaced. So no matter how bad it is, you can take it apart and replace a piece of it, unlike so much modern construction that's replaceable or temporary. Replacement windows or disposable windows, you get 15 or 25 years and you're doing it again. These are 100 years old, and we fixed the bottoms and made new parts, and hopefully if they're stayed painted, we'll keep them another 100 years. Yeah, so passion, it's fun and interesting. It's nice to save something, and again, I don't know why, so you guys can tell me later, but curved storm windows or synagogue windows that are falling apart or have been neglected for 30 or 40 or 50 years, we can bring them to our shop and we can put them back together and we can make pieces, parts. Being a craftsperson, I really enjoy challenges, and old buildings and structures are always a challenge, and you get to learn things like curved work and milling and pieces and parts and taking things apart, putting them back together. It's not going to be all about windows eventually. There's preservation in here too, but when we get back to the sustainability bit. And yeah, it's just a great place for us to work and be in a controlled environment. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to work at Shelburne Museum, and I work at other museums, and we get to teach people how to do what we do and put things back into buildings. That'll get painted in the spring, so the rest of the window looks good too. So sharing my passion for saving history and keeping things that may normally be thrown away, or things that are irreplaceable. A window like that would be crazy to build new. So we can take that and build a whole new bottom to it and put it back together and have it go back in the building. And Archibald Synagogue will be a community space when it's all done. And the owner's a preservationist who also doesn't know why. But again, there's something there that's been there for a long time. People did it before us. Preservation's a fancy word for maintenance, and you're just fixing things that somebody else did and passing it on to the next generation. Hopefully, replacing as little as you need to, and just getting things put back so somebody else can fix it next or keep it. Always think about the poor jerks that come after us, right? So we're pulling these things out of the building and we're like finding screws and recreating them and putting it back together and try to make it so that it's easily replaceable again. Or, and again, windows. People pulled a door out of a second floor of a building and needed windows to match the rest of the windows in the in the building, which were original, but the first one was gone, so they asked us to make one to match the other ones. So that's fun. You know, it's always nerve-wracking, so in our shop, I'm always sweating. I'm always nervous that it's never going to be. I step back once in a while and I look at the work we do, and I take pictures of my shop so that there they are, so that I can go home and go, wow, I love what I do. This is amazing stuff. But in and of the moment, I hate every second of it. And I'm like, it's never good enough, and it's always a problem. I'm not sure how we're going to pull it off. And then we do, and then we move on to the next one, that thing that's broken or rotted or fallen apart. And then I go through the whole process again. And we're winding down a little bit here. So preservation, you know, this is another, you know, it's not all about windows. It's our brickwork, it's our woodwork. Don't pay attention to that door. But these are historic stairs, and they're just crumbling apart because they've never been repointed, never been maintained. They're salted, and friends of mine are preservationists and masonry preservationist carpenters, and you know, they take it all apart, clean it all up, and put it back. And it's there again for another 100 and something years, you know. And I watched him do that, and I watched him tent it, work on it in the cold weather, and he hated every second of it. It was so frustrating. He couldn't get the bricks he wanted, so he stole bricks from somewhere else and put them in there, and then used the new bricks in the other place. And the neighbor just didn't want to let this 1920s garage fall into the ground, and he's crazier than I am, and but he probably put $50,000 or $60,000 into this building. He picked it up, poured a slab, replaced the bottom of it, replaced all the clapboards, restored all the doors, and put it back together. Ran 220 power, and he's got a shop in there for the rest of his life, owning that house and being a steward. And that example of that architecture in that building from 1926 is still standing there now for another 100 years. You know, so.
Yeah.